Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the idea of Harumi being back for Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 3, and whether or not she will be, based on her appearance in an upcoming set. And if she is going to be in Dragons Rising Season 3, how big will her role end up being? Let's talk about it. So for those that might not be aware, recently we got ourselves some updated listings for the upcoming Crossroads set, which will be a March 1st, 2025 set with 11 minifigures, including Harumi. We also know that the Harumi minifigure will be the casual Harumi that we saw way back in Sons of Garmadon, or at least something very similar. Now, because Harumi is back in this set, a lot of Ninjago fans have been asking, does this mean she will appear in the actual show? Will Harumi be in Dragons Rising Season 3 in some form? Well, it's possible, but at the same time, it's also very likely that Harumi is just for the sets. She's returning just in set form, not in show form. I think the best way we can describe this is if we actually compare this upcoming Crossroads set to the Ninjago City Markets, which also contained a lot of named characters, and despite this being a Dragons Rising set, a lot of these characters did not appear in Dragons Rising, and they still have not. Characters like Misdemeanor, Dareth, Cyrus Borg. They are in the Ninjago City Market set, but they do not show up in Dragons Rising. In the same breath, Harumi being in the Crossroads set doesn't mean she will be in the show. But obviously that's no fun, so let's say, for example, Harumi does end up being in the show. Her inclusion in this set will lead to her coming back in Dragons Rising Season 3. What do I expect her to do, and how big of a role will she have? Well, it's hard to say. Take a look back at the Ninjago City Market selection of minifigures. Camille is in that set. Camille did appear in Dragons Rising Season 2, but only very briefly. She just had a cameo. With other returning characters like Tox and the Pale Man, they had a little bit more to do. They had some speaking lines, but they did not play a pivotal role in the plot of Season 2 Part 2. With Harumi, it could just be a quick cameo. Maybe we see her walking throughout the Crossroads in the show. Maybe she has a quick interaction with Lloyd. Maybe she says hi to someone else that we know. Maybe she leads the ninja in the right direction for something that they are looking for. Because I feel like if Harumi was going to have a bigger role, maybe she would have been in more sets, and especially in sets that were more easy to acquire. So admittedly, it's not looking very good that Harumi will have a lot to do in Dragons Rising Season 3 if she even is in the season. Not to mention Season 3 is already pretty packed as it is, with a lot of other returning characters and just overarching plots that we still have to figure out and resolve coming at us from Season 1 and Season 2. Season 3 is pretty packed. But let's just say, for example, that Harumi does have a larger role. Well, obviously she's going to be a good guy, right? Because that's where we saw her at the end of Ninjago Crystallized, with her being redeemed for better or for worse and actually rebelling against the Overlord. She was last seen helping the ninja restore the monastery. She was smiling at Lloyd. Lloyd was smiling at her. They seem to be resolving their differences slowly but surely. So like the case with Moro, for example, if Harumi does come back and she does have a larger role in the context of the show, obviously she's going to be on the side of good. I also feel like we can't address the possibility of Harumi coming back in the show and not talk about what her relationship will be like with Lloyd, which more on that momentarily. Just bear with me. We will talk about it. Just give me a second here, because we need to talk about the controversy first, I suppose. Harumi is a very controversial character for a lot of reasons. Again, more on that momentarily. And she's one of the whole reasons why Ninjago Crystallized was so controversial. And in terms of Harumi's possible comeback, the Ninjago community seems very split by this decision, especially in my own comment section. There were many Ninjago fans talking about how they were excited that Harumi could come back in the show. Other Ninjago fans were kind of questioning that decision, maybe dreading it as well. No matter how you feel about Harumi, your opinions are valid. All I'm saying is Harumi is a very controversial character, and regarding Harumi coming back, I've seen a lot of people scared that Ninjago Dragons Rising will end up canonizing the Lloyd and Harumi romantic relationship. Which, yeah, talk about controversial. That whole ship is controversial for a ton of reasons, and talking more about the romance aspect of Lloyd and Harumi, could Dragons Rising canonize Lloyd and Harumi finally? Well, maybe. Again, if she has a larger role, she's probably going to be spending a lot of time around Lloyd, and since the two of them, last we saw, seem to be super chummy with each other, I mean, it's always a possibility that they could end up actually getting together and, you know, finally becoming a couple, which again is controversial. Feel free to leave all of your thoughts surrounding it down below. But regarding how likely that actually is, it seems a little likely. Again, Ninjago Crystallized had a very mixed reception regarding Harumi and Lloyd's relationship, even from the writers of the show. Ninjago Crystallized did have different writers, not for every episode, but they had certain groups of writers writing certain episodes. It did kind of seem like when watching Ninjago Crystallized, the writers were not really on the same page regarding whether or not Harumi actually had feelings for Lloyd, and I feel like it made for a very confusing season, all things considered. However, the episodes that actually were suggesting that Harumi had feelings for Lloyd were actually written by Doc Wyatt and Kevin Burke. I think the most famous example of this is the episode known as Catastrophe, which has a whole sequence at the beginning of the episode where the Overlord talks about how he knows that Harumi still has feelings for Lloyd. Again, that episode and many others were written by Doc Wyatt and Kevin Burke, who are the current lead writing team on Ninjago Dragons Rising. It kind of seems like the lead writing team was in support of that idea, or at least they were entertaining it. So in terms of the romance aspect, I know it's controversial, but at this point in time, it is looking more likely that if Harumi does have a large role, we could at least see something regarding the Lloyd and Harumi relationship in Dragons Rising Season 3. It is also possible that they could ultimately retcon the Lloyd and Harumi relationship just because of how much they've seen the fan base be split down the middle regarding these two ending up together. For example, even though we saw Lloyd and Harumi acting friendly towards each other at the end of Ninjago Crystallized, that doesn't mean that in the many years following Crystallized going into Dragons Rising, that they still feel the same way about each other. I don't think Lloyd and Harumi will be enemies again or anything like that, because remember, Harumi did redeem herself. What I'm saying is, maybe they could introduce the idea that perhaps after Crystallized wrapped up, maybe she and Lloyd tried to date, maybe they realized it did not work, and they just decided to remain friends. I could see that happening too. That way you kind of appease both sides of the Lloyd and Harumi dynamic. The people that don't mind the relationship, they might get to see a little bit of what that relationship was like, so they could win, and the people that don't really care for the ship all that much and feel like it's problematic, they can have their win too. But no matter what they decide to do with Harumi, I do think they should explain at least a little bit where she went after Ninjago Crystallized, how long she stuck around, what her relationship with Lloyd was like, if anything, and what happened to her after the merge. So at the end of the day, that's what I would like to see personally. I would like to get some answers at the very least, but like I said earlier in the video, a lot of signs are pointing to Harumi not really having a larger role in the show, and maybe she will just have a quick cameo at most. But either way, we are getting the casual Harumi minifigure as a part of the upcoming Crossroads set, or the Ninjago City Workshops set, whatever name it ends up going by at the end of the day. Like I said, leave all of your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. If you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Peace.